Welcome to episode number 40 of the PISCOPOD. I am your host, Sasha. Thank you for tuning in on this May the 31st. Hard to believe that it's approaching June, my birthday month. Get excited, kids. Plenty of time for shopping for presents still. All kidding aside here. Welcome to the show. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on here. The weather here in the foothills of the Rockies has been fantastic. I don't want to say unusually warm, but it's been roasting hot. Temperatures in the high 70s and the mid 80s. And with all the, with the late start to spring that we've had and all the snow that we had prior to these warm temperatures, we are in a bit of a slump here since Friday. It has the warm temperatures up in the mountains have been causing the rivers to rise rapidly. There's a lot of areas under flood warning. My friends in Canmore are one of these areas. The Bow River is rising very rapidly, high flow rates, and I've been kind of following that on the social medias and people posting, and it hasn't really breached the banks quite yet in the sense of the way that it may possibly do so, but we're definitely seeing some of the walking paths and stuff like that in Canmore submerged. Just south of me here in the town of Okotoks, they are under a stage 1 flood warning. Even here in Calgary, the Bow River, they have recommended that you stay away from the banks of it because the flow rate is very, very high, eroding a lot of the banks, and and the river is rising. And since Friday, we've been having rain. Yesterday wasn't too bad. Cloudy here, but when it started raining, it was really dumping down on us, and it really hasn't stopped all night long, and into today. It's been going all day, so it's kind of been a lazy day for me and the meatballs around the house. And with the projected forecast, it's supposed to rain like right up until Thursday nonstop, right? So that's a little concerning given the fact that, like I said, the Bow River is rising quite rapidly. If you're on my Facebook feed, you can see some of the feeds that I've been posting. And, she's, again, with the high temperatures causing all that snow to melt in the mountains, has caused an elevated river, and now on top of it, these torrential rain pours. It's not very good. So, keeping our thoughts and prayers for all the folks in Canmore and along the river and stuff like that. We don't need another major flood happening here, that's for sure. But we do welcome the rain. It has been hot and dry, so we are welcoming the rain in some of the higher parts and stuff like that. Hopefully prevent a really dry forest fire season. So here we are on the cusp of June the 1st, and as I said, it's been a couple of weeks since I've been on here, and where do you want to start? Canada is technically now in a recession, so this elbows up elite banker that the Liberals and his supporters thought that he would be the guy to, usher in Canada, a stronger Canada and a unified Canada, and a year in, and he's literally tanked the economy. He's the only leader in the G7 that has plunged his country into a recession. Other countries are places like Myanmar, and anyway, none of the big G7 countries, none of the how do you say it, like the G7, they're some of the wealthiest countries and the most advanced countries, right? Are our growth rate, I believe, here in the last we're now in the third quarter of undocumented growth. So that kind of is how they signal recessions. Our growth has been 0.006%. But on a positive note, Mark Carney's Brookfield Management Company, they're up a whole 20% this quarter. So, yeah, so that's what's going on here in Canada. Uh, it's a scary time for Canadians. Here in Alberta, where we are getting stymied by the anti-separatist movement. And again, it all boils down to corruption. The Indigenous chiefs, they went to court and got an injunction, more or less, to it doesn't really halt the process, but it certainly has slowed it down. And one of the main guys, one of the main Indigenous chiefs that's been in opposition of this, it's recently been discovered he took $55,000 in payments and stuff like that. So it's all it's all a bribe, and and it seems there's nobody willing to do anything about it, which is really beyond me, to be honest with you. With our economy now in a recession, the prices, I mean, maybe I should do a video of going through the grocery store so that you can see some of the prices that's going on in there. It's insane. It really, really is. It's insanity. And, this Mark Carney, he was touted as like this world banker, right? Like knows finances, and he's the guy to, usher Canada into a more prosperous future over Pierre Poilievre, who was what they call the Maple MAGA. Our premier here, Danielle Smith, which I think she would be a great prime minister, to be honest with you. She's getting hammered left, right, and center, of course, by the Liberals, by that fat sodomite Naheed Nenshi, right? Like if he isn't oiling up little boys somewhere, then he's on TV lamenting about how bad of a premier Danielle Smith is. To be honest with you, I think that she's the only premier in Canada that's worth her weight in salt, so to speak. She seems to be standing up for, I don't want to say the average Albertan. She seems to be standing up for the level-headed Albertans, right? Because there's a whole cabal of woke douche nozzles here in Alberta that just hate her because she's, she has pulled trans literature out of schools. She has banned the indoctrination of your children in schools in the woke agenda, the trans agenda. So the level-headed Albertans that are, here living here, we're behind her 100%, but it's it's a battle. I'll be honest with you. It's an uphill battle because there is a lot of woke. We need to stay in Canada. You guys are traitors, like why would you want to separate from Canada? Well, speaking for myself personally, I would love to stay in Canada, and by that I mean the Canada that I grew up in. The country that I live in now is no longer the country that I grew up in. The country that I grew up in, you had a positive outlook on your future. Me as a young person, I had no problem buying a home, buying cars, working an honest day's work and, saving up some money to, go out on the weekends and, take my girlfriend, now my wife or whatever, for dinners and stuff like that. But that's really a thing of the past. I mean, you can't even go to a little cafe. My wife and I, we went the other day to a nice little German place here in Calgary, Edelweiss Village it's called, and we usually go there Christmas time. My wife likes to go there, and we also go like for Oktoberfest and stuff like that. But my wife likes to go down to Edelweiss like at Christmas time to kind of give me, a bit of a taste of nostalgia of home. For those of you that know me, or for those in my family that are listening, my mother being German, Christmases and holidays and stuff like that were all about, German food and traditions such as that. So my wife likes to take me down to Edelweiss, and it kind of, gives me a bit of nostalgia, and, sends me back into my memory banks and stuff of how things used to be. So that's kind of nice. For those of you that are in the area that know Edelweiss, it's not a cheap place. Again, because everything is imported, right? So when there's strife in the world and, and supply lines are affected, granted, everything gets more expensive, as it does in everything, and on imports, it's one of those things. So just to give you an idea, we went there yesterday, just for, I don't even remember we went there for bird baths, because my wife, our bird bath broke last year, so my wife and I, we love watching the birds out where we are. There's so many of them and stuff like that. And our bird bath broke last year. Actually, I left it out too long and it froze and cracked the glass. So anyway, we were in the market for a new bird bath. The garden centers in and around the area, nothing really tickled our fancy, and the prices were insane. I remember the last time we were looking at getting a second bird bath, I think the prices were around $50, $60, and now they're upwards of $100, right? So everything is going up in price. So anyway, we went to Edelweiss Village and, made a bit of an afternoon of it, did some shopping for some good German food, and thought we'd stop in their little in-house cafe that they have there and have lunch. So that we did. It wasn't an extravagant lunch. It was like, your basic German fare. I had a couple of bratwursts with, sauerkraut and fried potatoes and stuff, like nothing fancy. We shared a cabbage roll. My wife had a rouladen meal, and just that alone was $65. We each had a can of Grizzly Paw soda, and that alone was $65. And, it was to be expected. We know what the prices are when we go there, but nonetheless, $65 once upon a time, we could go to a pub and, have a bunch of drinks and some chicken wings and nachos and still be under $65 kind of thing. So everything is going up. What struck me is really not odd, but what struck me as an eye-opener was when we went to go and pay. So Edelweiss is a nice little shop. It's in Bowness, Calgary. I believe that's where it is. Anyway, it's in Northwest Calgary, and they have like a cafe attached to the store, and you could do your shopping, and then you park your cart, and you can go into the little cafe that they have there and have lunch or have coffee or whatever it is that you want to do. It's a nice little store. It generally gets jam-packed. The aisles are tight, and anyway, so that's what we did. It was a rainy day, and that's what we decided to do. So the eye opener for me was when we went to pay for our lunch. The young lady brings the machine, and I go to tap. Tap is not working, and she says, we've had problems with the tap all day. You're probably going to have to swipe your card. So that's what I did. swiped or inserted the card, swiped the card, whatever you want to call it, and declined. And I thought, well, that's odd and embarrassing at the same time. So I tried it again. Same thing, declined. So I said to the wife, I said, you got your debit card with you? I said, you're going to have to swipe it yourself. And sure enough, hers is declined. Again, very embarrassing. Now, I know I got plenty of money in the account to cover this $65 lunch and then some. But nonetheless, right, you kind of feel like a schlub because, nobody wants to see the decline thing. And regardless of what you say, I got plenty of money in my account. If I was a server, I'd be kind of like, yeah, sure, right? So it's kind of embarrassing, but what have you. Whatever the case is. So we paid cash. So I thought, well, that's fucking weird. Anyway, so we continued doing our shopping and stuff, and we got our cart loaded full of stuff and go to another cash register, and again, declined. Both mine and her cards are declined. So that was an eye-opener for me because lately there has been a huge push on these, on this AI and these data centers and the digital, the electric cars and the digital currency and a cashless society. And they're really, really, really pushing hard for this. And it makes you wonder, they clearly don't have the infrastructure in place in order to handle all this. And which to me seemed pretty obvious because both mine and my wife's cards kept getting declined. And so it makes you wonder what exactly is going on and what is with this big push for everything cashless society and digital currency. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, the obvious answer is of control. And it's not hard to see how something like that will benefit the powers that be against any dissidents. Because then if they don't like what you say or they don't like how you behave online or they don't like the fact that you're pushing back against weird and unnecessary agendas, that they literally have your life in their hands. And with a flip of the switch, shut off your money, shut off your car, shut off electricity and heat to your home, literally ostracize you from the basic needs of humanity. So it really opened my eyes as to kind of digging in my heels with this. I am definitely not going to sign up for this mark of the beast, if you will, this cashless society where I can just go into the superstore and, whatever, they scan my fingerprint or they scan my retina or there's a chip embedded in me. I don't even know how they're going to do it, but I'm telling you, folks, we need to really, really, really think hard and long about our complacency in how our governments, and not just the Canadian government, it's the U.S. government, it's governments all over the world, how they're literally a little bite at a time taking our freedoms and our autonomy away. For instance, again, with the cards being turned off. So anyway, so we had the cash, and I was thinking, and I said this to my wife, I said, well, what would have happened if we didn't have the means to pay for the pay cash? If we didn't have the cash on us. Now, granted, everything in the cart that we had, we could have left behind, I suppose, right? Or returned it to the shelf, even though I would have never returned it back to the shelf, number one, right? I don't work for Edelweiss. I would have just left the cart there. But I mean, that would have been an option. But what about what about the meal that we had? Um, I mean, we can't really give that back. I suppose we could in about 11 hours when the digestive process um, works its way through. But in all reality, that's something we couldn't give back. Um, we always, load up on, German cheeses and imported deli meat and stuff like that when we go there. So that technically we couldn't really give back either. I mean, I suppose we could have left that behind as well, but what are they going to do with it? They're certainly not going to put it back on the shelf. It's all been like prepared and cut, thinly sliced, whatever, cheeses and salamis and stuff like that, right? So what happens to that stuff? They just throw it away? Is that going to be good for the small business owner and the economy that when the systems go down that, well, I guess we're just going to throw all this shit away? Is that how it works, or is that part of the program? Is that what they're looking for? So it makes you wonder. Well, it doesn't make you wonder. It makes me anyway. It makes me very, very angry as to what's going on. These leaders, they have forgotten who they work for. They work for me. They work for you. It's our tax dollars that are paying. And it seems the further we go down the line here, the worse it seems to be getting. Here in Canada, our illustrious Prime Minister, Montgomery Burns, he signed an MOU with the Chinese government. Red flag right there. And then the second red flag is that he refuses to tell the Canadian citizens about what he signed in this MOU. And their answer is, well, we regularly don't disclose to Canadian citizens things of national security and importance. So these people are signing things into legislation or signing trade agreements or signing whatever kind of agreements on behalf of a country that pays them in tax dollars from mine and your hard work, and they refuse to tell us what the fuck is going on. It's just like, whatever. Here's what we signed one, and we're not going to tell you what it is, and just trust me on the fact that it's going to be good for us. Again, at the top of this thing, I was talking about how Carney has plunged Canada into the only country in the G7 that's in a recession. But then today, when I opened my social medias, he's pledged another $11 billion to Palestine. So, I ask my Canadian friends, at what point are we literally going to arm ourselves and storm the castle, man? Like, how much more are we going to allow to happen? We've allowed this unelected guy to bribe his way into a majority government, which is exactly what he did. If anybody's been following these floor crossers, the last lady that crossed the floor, I don't even remember her name because it just enrages me. She was basically on a video podcast, and they said, like, why would you let your constituents that voted for you down? And like, what happened? How did they get you to cross the floor? And she basically admitted that they bribed her. She said she was at a parliamentary luncheon or some parliamentary affair, and she had just received notification that one of her, in her riding, one of the infrastructure budget things was going to be cut by over 50%, and she was kind of disheartened about that. So when she went to this parliamentary luncheon, she was asking some of the liberals, that she associates with, She says, like, come on, cutting this by 50%, that's really going to hurt the average Canadian, citizen in my riding. Like, isn't there something that we can talk about? Isn't there something that we can do? Like, can we work out some sort of arrangement? And they basically came out and told her, yeah, there's something that you can do. If you join our side, we will not only put that 50% back in the budget, but we'll increase the budget. So that's what she did. So she's basically admitting to the fact that she took a bribe. Now, granted, she took this bribe to benefit citizens in her riding, I suppose. I guess you can look at it that way if you want to, look at the bright side of the street. But the bottom line is that the Liberal government is bribing people, bribing floor crossers. So now that we're in this recession, we can't even call a non-confidence vote to get Carney out. Again, remember, Carney is an unelected leader. Nobody in Canada elected him. The Liberal Party elected him when Trudeau stepped down. And so we can't even call a non-confidence vote, because you can't call a non-confidence vote on a majority government. It won't work. So, I mean, what do you want to say? They're basically thumbing their nose at us. This corruption is just ongoing and incessant in Canadian politics here. And, I'm calling on my Canadian friends, and at least here in Alberta, that we need to start looking at whatever means necessary to take our country back, take our province back. This can't go on any further. Like, we can't be behind Miramar in our economic status in a country that is as resource rich and as big and once prosperous as Canada was. It's fucking crazy. It really, really is. Our housing crisis, rents, affordability, even being able to get a house. None of the promises that he was platforming on have come true. As a matter of fact, they've gone the other way in epic fashion. Our immigration policy is still abhorrent. We're still importing people like by the thousands, and we have no homes for them. Our highway turnouts, our crime rate is through the roof. Our highway turnouts and our city streets and communities. Northeast Calgary looks like fucking Calcutta. Garbage everywhere. Constantly in the local Facebook feed showing, piles of garbage that have been illegally dumped at the side of the fucking road. These people are like literally turning our country into the shithole that they slithered out from. And I'm wondering how much longer we're going to take this shit before we actually do something about it. And I mean do something about it by whatever means necessary. And I mean that wholeheartedly, by whatever means necessary. Because clearly the law isn't on our side. The government isn't on our side. And nobody wants to do anything about it. You want to help solve the housing crisis? Here's an idea. How about we start getting rid of all these people whose visas have expired and we have no idea where they are? They're still living off the government tit and they're not getting deported. In BC recently, there was a case of an immigrant, call it for what it is. And he was charged. He was filming himself, and he was smearing feces on people at a bus stop or a train station, attacking people, smearing feces in their faces and in their mouths. And he was arrested. And the woke judge in this case, number one, he didn't get any jail time. Number two, he was going to get a hefty fine. But the woke judge that is sitting on the bench presiding over this case thought that the fine would provide undue hardship for the guy because he hasn't worked in 2 years. So he just nullified the fine, and this guy's back on the street, even though he's been doing this shit, literally, pardon the pun, but he's been doing this shit since 2019. So almost a decade he's been terrorizing and harassing Canadian citizens, and our woke judges that are on the bench, they refuse to do anything about it. Our crime rate is through the roof because our woke judges refuse to do anything about it. We have a case of a Sikh gang that's in BC. For those of you of my American friends, I don't know if you guys are getting this on the international news, but throughout Canada, there's been these crazy wave of shootings and extortions and stuff like that run by Sikh gangs that they've been importing. So these guys are going around to members of their community and basically terrorizing them for hush money. Kind of like what the mafia used to do to businesses. You want protection, you're going to pay us. And if you don't pay us, we're going to shoot up your house. We're going to terrorize your family. We're going to track you down in the streets in broad daylight and beat the fuck out of you. This is the kind of shit that's going on. And I'm not talking about some third world shithole here. I'm talking about Canada, man. Surrey, BC. So what's happening with that? Well, you would think that this Sikh gang of riffraffs and goat fuckers would be, trying to lay low to avoid any of the local heat. Nope. These guys wrote a letter to the RCMP, and this letter was published, and they basically said that we have 1,000 foot soldiers in BC that are armed and ready to fight. So if you want to do something about it, you better think twice. This is the shit that we're importing thanks to the Liberal government. And nobody is willing to do anything about it. I think that we need a grassroots movement of some brave Canadian or Alberta patriots that are going to put boots on the ground and start doing something that our government is either too stupid to do or by design is not doing it purposely. It's been nothing but broken promises. Canada is now $2.5 trillion in debt. And what that means for the average citizen, like I'm in my late 50s, you know what I mean? I'd like to think that I still have a long, illustrious life ahead of me, but I'm not naive. I know that the sands of time for me, there's more sand in the bottom of the hourglass for me than there is at the top of the hourglass. I'm not naive in that concept, but at the same time, what does that mean for like my nieces and my nephews and my cousins and stuff that have young children and stuff like that? It means that your children will never own a home, ever. And that's sad. That's not the Canada that I grew up in. The Canada that I grew up in, even from a young teenager, I always knew, or I had instilled in me, the fact that if I found a good job, kept my nose to the grindstone, and worked hard, I could live a pretty decent life. I could have a nice house. I could have have a nice Harley, have a couple of cars, without doing anything shady or illegal. That was in the realm of possibility. Now, I mean, I got members. I got members in my immediate family where their 33-year-old daughter is moving back home, kind of thing. Lives at home with mom and dad in their basement. That to me is inexcusable. I think that our government should have their feet held to the fire for this colossal failure. And at the same time, from a personal standpoint, my God, me at 33 years old, I couldn't even imagine having to move back in with my parents at the age of 33 years old. You know, like what a colossal, soul crushing, spirit crushing endeavor that must be to leave the nest. You're out in the world, ready to fly, and nope, because your government is a cabal of baby-eating pedophiles and fuckwits and corrupt politicians. You better move back home with mom and dad. It's been nothing but broken promises. Like I said, you want to solve the housing crisis in Canada? Get rid of the immigrants. Get rid of the ones that aren't supposed to be here. I'm not saying get rid of all the immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I know immigrants that are great people, but get rid of the ones that aren't supposed to be here. You want to do something with the economy? How about stop paying for these people that shouldn't be here? Immigration all over the world is fucking crazy. Look at France today. With the win in, I guess it's the World Cup or something like that, soccer or some sporting events, they're fucking burning Paris down and neighboring cities. Like these aren't. We used to laugh at the soccer hooligans in England, that used to go out and get drunk and fight. They make these people pale in comparison. These people are smashing shop windows, lighting fucking cars on fire as a celebration. This is them celebrating, man. But what do you expect when you import these third world dirtbags into polite society? What do you expect is going to happen? I mean, really. Where, it's just one lie and one disappointment after the other. Now we're dealing with data centers worldwide here in Canada as well. Olds, Alberta, they're trying to whack up a major data center. Kevin O'Leary, the guy from Dragon's Den, he was on Tucker Carlson a week ago or whatever, talking about that he wants to build a 40,000-acre data center in Utah that will use more power annually than the entire state of Utah. So every home, every light bulb, every car charger, every air conditioning unit, it'll use more power than all of those combined. Where's the environmentalists? Oh, yeah, right? They're not getting paid by Soros and the big corporations that are pushing these things, right? They're only getting paid to, protest things like the oil sands, because the oil sands, it's dirty energy. It's dirty energy. Last summer, I could get a $5,000 fine for watering my lawn on an undesignated day, but to put a data center in that's the size of 4 Costco's that drinks the equivalent of a reservoir of fresh water every year and uses more power than half the province combined, but that's okay. All of a sudden, we're not in this climate crisis, this existential climate crisis anymore. It just makes you shake your head. It just makes you shake your head. The war in Iran, just makes you shake your head. Anybody that opposes it is an anti-Semite. Let me tell you something, folks. Being anti-Zionist doesn't make you an anti-Semite. If you look at some of the foreign press as opposed to the Western press, there's a lot of Jewish people that are against the war in Iran. But they're not going to tell you that here in Western Canada. Certainly not in the United States. They're not going to tell you that because the Zionists down there, they profit from war. Right? War. More money. They're not even done in one place yet, and they've already moved to another place. How is it that Israel wields so much power over the current Trump administration? And I don't want to single out the Trump administration because let's be honest, Israel plays both sides of the fence. If it wouldn't be Trump in power, and it was like a Democrat in power, they'd have the same amount of power. The Israelis would have the same amount of power that they're wielding as they currently do over Trump. They play both sides of the fence, and it makes you wonder, how is it that a country of, what is it, 6 million or 9 million people, how is it that a country of 9 million people that's getting money from the United States, a country of somewhat 400 million people, how is it that they wield this much power? But hey, if you say it's because of things like the Epstein files or bribery and extortion, well, you're just a Jew-hating anti-Semite. We're living in crazy times, people. Crazy times indeed. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. It seems to be getting worse. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have answers. The only thing that comes to mind when I talk about this shit, other than rage and fury, is the fact that if you go through the history books, nothing ever positive has come from, for the average Joe, through pretending that your voice at the polling station and the voting booth is going to make a difference. This is what they've gaslit us into believing, that, you go out every voting cycle and you cast your vote and everything will be okay. Is it? Is anybody noticing that? Right? Does anybody feel that they're that much better off since Sleepy Joe Biden has been out of office now that Trump is in office? Sure, there's been some gains and stuff like that, but the real gains, they're basically for people that are not of our ilk and are not in our tax bracket, right? The war is profiting those people that, that invest and run in these companies. There was a senator on live TV talking about how we should look the other way when they're doing the equivalent of insider trading. We should be looking the other way because, because God forbid these poor souls, they can't live on $150,000 a year salary, so let them play the stock market a bit with their inside information. And why not? Donald Trump has enriched himself significantly on insider trading. As a matter of fact, his son Barron has even been playing the stock market and has made, I read somewhere like in the tune of $1 billion or something like that in stock trading. So is he that smart? Or is Daddy saying, hey, you know what, you should be here, buy this stock, and here's some money for this stock, and and this is how these elites enrich themselves. Zelensky, there was recently an article that came out that his family and friends have bought $40 million worth of luxury properties in Miami through shell companies and through charities and stuff like that they set up. So these elites, they just have all these ways that they could fuck the system, use our tax dollars against us, and when there just happens to be a rule that doesn't favor them, well, they'll just get someone in power to change that rule. And we're seeing this, it's way beyond partisanship anymore. And if you don't see that, man, I don't know what I got to tell you in order for you to open your eyes. They're having us fight between, the red states and the blue states, or here in Canada between the liberals and the progressive conservatives. And it has nothing to do with that, because the real people that are pulling the strings, they don't give a fuck who's in power because they control them all. They control them all. And if you don't see that, man, I don't know what else I can tell you. Like I said, Canada is in a recession, And our prime minister, without saying it, is basically fuck the Canadian citizens. I'm going to give another $11 billion to help Palestine. They gave like another, what was it, $35 billion for the war in Ukraine. We still have luxury hotels all over Canada that are housing non-working immigrants and paying them $3,000 a month for living expenses and stuff like that. And Canadian citizens like you and me that are going out and working every day, we don't know how to keep our fridge full of food. But the guy that's come in from some third world shithole that has no intentions of working, that's milking the system, he's making more money than you. How does that make you feel? Anyway, folks, yeah, that's the fucking world we live in, man. That is the world we live in. I think that we need another Christian crusade. I think we need to, as white people, we need to stop being gaslit into thinking that, I see it all the time. Oh, the white people, they're the terrorists and they should be eliminated. Nobody ever says anything, hey, man, that's racist. Here in Lethbridge, as a matter of fact, they're looking for a professor at the University of Lethbridge. And it says right in the hiring process that it's not open to white people. It says that, not open to white people because there's an underrepresented because the school is underrepresented in the minorities. So this new job opening is open to everybody unless you're white. But that's not racist. That's inclusive. Anyway, folks, I'm telling you, man, get your PAL license, your personal arms license, get your PAL license, learn how to defend yourself, and seriously, get some sturdy boots, man, because it's time to lace up and start fucking knocking skulls, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate you guys. Drop me a line. Let me know what's on your mind. I do read the emails. I do try to respond to every one of them. And we will see you on the flip side. See ya.